going for a dramatic entrance at the last possible friggin' second, now would be a really great time!
Come on!
For a game with so many strong personalities, Battleborn somehow lacks a cohesive identity. Every facet from the characters to the progression to the visual presentation feels overloaded with ideas, some good, some bad, some just confusing. Because it throws so much against the wall, the end result is a scattered grab bag of manic gameplay, complex leveling, and cartoony humor. In short, Battleborn is fun but messy, and parsing the experience underneath can be maddeningly tricky.
Great, more work for me. I have to prepare another underling for imminent mortal combat.
The best example of Battleborn's deep-seated identity crisis is its massive 25-character roster. Though technically a first-person shooter, the game's heroes utilize all sorts of preset weapons, abilities, and roles that pull from every influence imaginable. Impressively, even characters that seem superficially similar inevitably offer something unique that makes their gameplay memorable and enjoyable, be it a particularly powerful super or simply a higher-than-average movement speed. This mechanical variety is not only remarkable, it also drives Battleborn's longevity. You'll unlock new heroes steadily and without much conscious effort, so you'll generally have one or two new options by the time you've outgrown your current character. Unfortunately, you might outgrow them more quickly than you'd expect. Testing out a new hero for the first time can feel a bit overwhelming, but as soon as you overcome this initial teething period, each hero's gameplay loop starts to grow routine. This is in part a symptom of Battleborn's approach to action. Its gameplay is fast and frantic, but also light and loose. I found I generally just had to spam the primary attack button, trigger my specials whenever possible, and occasionally retreat to let my shields recharge.
Lighting this up.
This is especially true during the cooperative campaign, which consists of 8 loosely connected missions that feel more like Destiny Strikes than a carefully crafted, narrative-driven story mode. Enemies are, for the most part, brainless and predictable. Cutting them down in droves can feel empowering, but it also underscores the repetitive, simplistic nature of the baseline combat. It's also somewhat frustrating that all 8 missions repeatedly remix the same 3 scenarios: defend the asset, escort the robot, and kill the boss. Thanks to the variety of the characters and the frenetic energy of the combat, however, Battleborn can still end up being a blast. Sure, the moment-to-moment gameplay feels superficial, but when your 5-man squad is getting absolutely swarmed and you've already sunk 45 minutes into a mission and you've run out of respawns, the tension and chaos combine to form a powerful engine of fun. A word of warning though, without other players, combat becomes a slog and certain objectives become nearly impossible. But hey, at least there's split-screen co-op and streamlined matchmaking. Outside of the 8 campaign missions, Battleborn offers 3 competitive multiplayer modes, and here the gameplay develops a slightly more strategic sheen. Unlike the mindless fodder you fight in the campaign, multiplayer pits heroes against heroes, which forces you to approach combat more thoughtfully. The modes themselves add an extra layer of strategy as well, borrowing MOBA elements to create setups that emphasize objectives over kills. In practice, this equates to action that feels less chaotic but far more involving than anything in the campaign, and the combination of distinct characters and MOBA-inspired objectives makes Battleborn's multiplayer feel genuinely fresh. This component is by no means flawless, however. The added strategic depth helps, but doesn't eliminate the simplicity of the core gameplay, but more importantly, there's just not quite enough content to make Battleborn feel totally substantial. The 3 modes offer just 2 maps apiece, and while that's not unusual for a MOBA, it's awfully light for a shooter, especially one with a relatively short, unadorned campaign. There's also an issue with Battleborn's in-match leveling system. The game features several forms of experience and progression, including individual character leveling, unlockable gear, and an overall command rank, but the most impactful system is the on-the-fly leveling that occurs within each mission and match. In the campaign, this system works remarkably well. I never felt hindered starting at 0, but I was always glad to have my fully leveled abilities back by the end. In the competitive multiplayer, however, this system rewards players who are already doing well, meaning matches can sometimes snowball into lopsided thrashings. While it may not be as important as the progression system or multiplayer modes, it's worth noting that Battleborn's writing is, by and large, goofy, witty, and endearing.
Fun fact, this stuff used to be illegal, but now that we're all doomed, nobody seems to care. Holy crap, legendary gear identified. Holy sh**.
It won't appeal to everyone's tastes, but anyone can appreciate the deep well of one-liners that flavor both the campaign and, surprisingly, the competitive multiplayer. Battleborn feels like an elaborate patchwork of ideas that compete for attention without necessarily adding too much to the experience. With so many moving parts that never quite gel, I found plenty of things to love, but just as much to feel confused by and ambivalent about.